This video is about choosing your Hebrew name and also the story of how I chose my Hebrew name. I do believe names carry power in Judaism, but I also believe that it's more about working on yourself. And if you do have a name that you don't like, especially converting, I know there's many people that have very Christian names that you can. Christian, for example, is a very common Afrikaans name, which basically means Christian. And for someone like that, converting, going into conversion, it is tricky. And I do understand that many of these people don't want to carry that name. So how do you choose your Hebrew name? So the way that I chose my name is very simple. I am a very practical person. So I took my name, Theodorus, which means gift from the gods, plural, not good. And I changed it into Hebrew, into the singular, Shai-El, gift from God. It's also what my Hebrew teacher called me. And I can tell you that a lot of converts have chosen the name that their Hebrew teacher gave them. And this is how Hebrew teachers chooses your name. They ask you your English name, and then they normally know the meanings of names, and then they get you the meaning in Hebrew, and that's then your Hebrew name. Now, many other people take the second approach, taking a character in the Torah or the Tanakh that you identify with, or even in the Talmud, like a great rabbi like Akiva is a very popular name. And then I also took a second name. Now, many people do that. Most converts do that I know. It's not that common in mainstream Judaism, but it is a thing that's growing. So my second name, I took Moshe, and that is for the second reason that I gave in this video, is that I felt very connected with the character of Moshe. And I'll share for you some personal things about myself that maybe might give you some insight and hopefully help you in choosing your name. So Moshe didn't have a great life. From his birth, he had issues. I myself also had a lot of issues from my birth. So I was very sickly as a child. I mainly lived in hospitals mainly from when I was born, probably until I was 6. Moshe also had, many of you know the story, he had a speech impairment. So many people say that he stuttered. Some people say he had a cleft palate. There's many different theories about exactly what was his speech impairment. So there's one commentary that says that he actually didn't have a lisp or a stutter or a cleft palate, but that he no longer knew the language of Egyptian. He forgot. So I obviously, I had cancer at age 6, and at 7 I lost my leg below the knee, my left leg. So I've also always had to deal with a disability, something that makes me different. So if you go with the opinion that he had a stutter or cleft palate, then he also grew up with that disability. So I also connected with that. And he's a very reluctant leader. He's not trying to take the job. God's telling him, look, I've got a job for you to do. He's like, look, I'm not the ideal guy. I've got the speech impairment thing. I don't know how to speak. And in many ways, I feel I am also like that. I have been a manager for most of my career, but I've never actually wanted to be in management. I really connected with his character, his deep faith in God, which Baruch Hashem is something that I do have. Obviously, no one is at Moshe's level. Let's not kid ourselves here. And then obviously, if you're a convert, it will be Ben Avraham, the son of Avram. Avram Avinu is actually the full title on your conversion paper. But most people, when they call you up to the Torah, Shai-El Moshe ben Avraham. That's the first thing. But in Israel, you cannot take Ben Avram as your surname. Sephardim had that tradition, but Israel doesn't have that. You can't do that. You got to take a mishpacha, a family name. So my family name happens to be Hebrew, which is Kriel. The way they spell it is Kuf Reish Yud Aleph Lamet Kriel, which actually means God called. So if you take the names, and I didn't know that at the time, but if you take my names as it is, it's Shael, a gift from God that God called, which beautiful. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some ideas for choosing a name. And I would strongly give you one caution: do not listen to other people. Don't listen to other people's ideas about what you should call yourself. If you're someone that likes to get other people's opinions, do that. But I think it's something you have to find within yourself. Some people have told me that they just see a name and it speaks to them. And then another thing, which is not 100% halakha, but it is a chumrah, a strongly observed chumrah. You shouldn't say your name until you finish your conversion and you get called up to the Torah as a convert. Now, you don't really have to observe this, but this is what's done for any boy. When his name is only announced at the actual bris. So for 8 days, that baby boy has no name. Now, the parents know what the name of the boy is going to be. Many people speculate, obviously, in Jewish circles. A lot of speculation. Will it be this grandfather? Will it be that grandfather? Will it be the rabbi? His name, what name will it be? But that name is only mentioned at the bris. So a lot of people observe, a lot of converts observe the custom not to say their names. I did the same. The first time my name was announced was when I was called up to the Torah. And for all the girls who obviously don't get called up to the Torah, you can say the name after you get out of the mikvah, because then you're fully Jewish. Many guys also start saying the Hebrew name once they get out of the mikvah, because that's also the time that they become Jewish. So you could say your name at that point. I'm just giving you a custom that I followed and that I did find quite special, going up to the Torah the first time someone calls you by your Hebrew name, literally. So please God, you should find a name that you connect with, that you feel is the essence of your new neshama. Please God, you should all finish soon. You should all be blessed in everything that you do. Shavua Tov.
Hashem melech, Hashem malach, Hashem yimloch leolam vaed. Hashem melech, Hashem malach, Hashem